Hey guys, and welcome back to the channel. So I was ready to do a whole new subject besides the whole takeover of SM Entertainment because it looked like Hybe was basically the winner, and barring any kind of unexpected surprise, it would be basically a done deal. But today we got that surprise. Kakao Entertainment, basically, what do you do? What do you do when you're blocked in almost every other avenue? You throw down money. And they're basically saying, like, we're going to throw down all the money we can. We are going to buy our way into this. We are not going to give up in terms of getting a controlling interest in SM Entertainment. All that coming up. So stay tuned. So what was the announcement today? Well, Kakao says that they're going to make their own tender offer. What is a tender offer? Essentially, it's a guarantee of a certain price where they're saying like, hey, if you own some SM Entertainment shares, we're going to give you 150,000 won, which is basically about $150. We generally in Korea just use this simple exchange rate in our mind, like $1 equals 1,000 won, which it's not because of the fluctuating exchange rate, but for simple purposes, just think about like 150,000 won, $150 when it's really more like 130 something dollars. But anyhow, so remember when we were starting this whole drama, Kakao was trying to get a special sweetheart deal of about 90,000 won or $90 per share, and that was blocked by the courts. And then Hybe came in and said like, all right, well, we got Isuman shares and we're going to try to get 25% more shares so that we can get around 40%, because once you get 40%, apparently the analysts have looked at SM Entertainment, once you get about 40% of the company, you could basically do whatever you want. You don't have to spend any more than that. And so they offered a tender offer saying like, hey, if you got any SM shares and it's what, $90 now, we're going to give you $120. So just come over, give them to us. Well, the stock market during that time, because there was a deadline, right? It shot up way beyond 120. It went up to like 125, $130. So then there's no need to go to Hybe to sell your shares, because you can just plop, plop, plop on your trading app and then get $130 for your share. And so when everything was said and done, the tender offer from Hybe, which basically the deadline had passed, they wanted, again, like 25%. They got like 0.9%. So the media right now is calling Hybe's attempt at getting more shares a failure. So what do we have in this situation so far? So Hybe essentially got 14.8% from Isuman, then it got about like 0.97% from their tender offer, so that takes them over 15%. Most likely they're going to then take Isuman's remaining shares. So essentially they're going to have not 20%, but almost 20% of the company guaranteed in their control right now. Now, the question though is, because Kakao has offered this tender offer of 150,000 won today on the stock market in Korea, SM shares soared like 15% to 149,700 won. So basically like 149.7 dollars. And so if you buy it at that price now, and let's say you want to sell it to Kakao, you're guaranteed basically like a 30-cent profit. But had you had this stock from before, it just ran up way high. Remember, like back in the summer, so it's not even about 8 months ago, this stock was like $60, $70, $80. So if you were, kind of betting on SM, you are now very richly rewarded. And of course, back then, it didn't look like a stock you really wanted to touch. And so now Kakao says that it's going to try to get 35% of the company through this tender offer, or just straight out just buying up shares. Now they have the money. Remember, we were talking about how Kakao had recently got about $1 billion investment from two sovereign wealth funds, one from the Middle East and one from Singapore, and it was supposed to be for future investment projects. Well, this tender offer essentially would basically blow through that whole entire budget. They're looking for 8.33 million shares in SM Entertainment to control 35%. And apparently they have about 4.9% already, so that gets you up to 40%. Remember, Hybe was also trying to get up to 40%. So this is the battle for the 40%. 40%, again, seems to be the magic number. So Kakao's tender offer expires March 26, which is 5 days before the shareholder meeting. So that gives them some wiggle room. 5 days to, if they don't get the tender offer, to then just go out and just, start scooping up shares, I guess, as much as you can. Now, Kakao is a much bigger company, and it has more assets to draw upon or to create financing vehicles on. I think it's about 4 times as large as Hybe. Now, it's a question though now, does Hybe have enough money to then now start competing to throw down more cash at a higher rate? This is becoming a much more expensive proposition. And in a way, before we had the court injunction, right? So there's the legal way to just stop Kakao, block Kakao there. But then Kakao, if you just got money, and if Hybe just doesn't have as much money, then Kakao can totally win. It's a total reversal, all in a day, all in a weekend. So now what I think we really need, the only PowerPoint that has been missing now is from the Kakao team. We had the PowerPoint from the SM management, we had the PowerPoint from the Hybe management, and even though SM says that this is gonna be a partnership with Kakao, and even though today's a statement by Kakao in their tender offer saying like, we're going to offer you riches for your shares, saying that we're just going to have a horizontal relationship, like a partnership with SM, and basically give them autonomy. We all know you're not going to spend your entire allowance. This is basically like their entire budget for growth and not expect to basically be driving the ship. So Kakao, we need your PowerPoint now. And to be honest, I think out of all the PowerPoints, Kakao's PowerPoint will probably look the most attractive visually, because they sell emojis and emoticons for a living, and they create webtoons for a living. And I said before in a different video, I went to visit their offices once for a presentation, and I think they're a little bit younger in terms of like their style, their groove, the vibe. And at that company, everybody has to pick an English name, and they all call each other by their English name. There's no titles of rank because they want to have a more horizontal and egalitarian management environment. And then somebody asked somebody from overseas who is also in that tour of the company, saying like, well, why can't you just use the first names of their Korean names? And everyone was like, oh God, girl. No, that just wouldn't work, because that is extremely rude in Korean. And even if you're saying like, oh, I'm calling you by your first name, like let's say your first name is like Minjung, and you're saying like, oh, Minjung, I'm saying it in a Kakao context, but then you're still going to speak Korean, it still just triggers, there's just no way to separate it. It's kind of like saying, like, if in English, like, oh, feel free to call each other hoes, be like, hey ho, and then, be like, oh no, I meant it in a friendly way, I didn't mean it, it's just, you still can't use that because it'll still trigger it being extremely rude. But I think that it's very telling of a company that they went through such lengths in order to do that, and in order to speed up some sort of innovation and the kind of like group dynamic. So I do like that about Kakao. So some of you may be wondering, is the FTC going to get involved now? Is that now back on the table? Because Hybe did get 1% more shares, so that takes them over the 15% threshold. Remember, they were just trying to delay getting over 15% as long as they could, or until they could just get such a large amount of shares anyway where it almost doesn't matter. Well, it seems as if that's going to be back on the table, because apparently if there is a company with assets or revenue exceeding 300 billion won, or about $300 million, and if you get 15% or more of a stake in another company that has revenues of about $30 million or more a year, the FTC has to look at it, the Korean FTC has to look at it for a merger review to make a decision within 4 months. So it now becomes a game of politics and power. Who has more power to let the decision come in 4 months, which would basically mean Hybe has more power, or what if the decision comes real quickly? And that would mean Kakao and SM have more power. So these people now at the FTC are sitting pretty, because they're probably going to be entertaining favors, and don't be surprised to see a lot of FTC people's children suddenly pop up, at work being like, hey, it's my first day here at Hybe. Hey, it's my first day here at Kakao. Oh, I don't know how to do anything, but daddy said that I could come here to work. So as of now, if Kakao is serious about spending their money this way, which in a way would probably be a headache that they just eliminated, because they got all this money and then now there's no more meetings to have at the company, basically like, oh, let's budget this for this project, or should we spend it over here? It's just like, well, we're going to be one and done, all in on SM Entertainment, no need for any kind of other, wasting time on doing proposals or something like that. But if Kakao is really serious about spending all of their future investment funds on this project, and if they're really good for the money, and if Hybe can't come up with money on its own, then it looks like, wow, Kakao just turned the tables. However, for Hybe right now, it becomes a question of, can they get, because they're already at about 20%. They only need about 20% more, so they would need less money, although the price keeps going up. Can they secure this additional funding? And apparently the talk on the streets is that they're talking to different entertainment companies and also financing people in the finance industry to see if they can come up with extra capital to then counter with their own tender offer, which would be higher, maybe $160 a share, $170 a share, or whether they would just start buying on the open market. About 61% of the outstanding shares right now of SM Entertainment are held by non-institutions, just retail investors, just ordinary people who have the shares. So it all's now a question of like, do those people now want to part with it? And if they just sell it on the open market, then it's just going to go over to whoever buys it. If they really want to take sides, so let's say you are a current SM shareholder and now the Hybe is the Hybe tender offer is over, so you can't go over there anymore. And if you're like a total SM stan and you're saying like, if I sell my shares, I only want it to go to the SM Kakao side, then you can sell it to them in their tender offer and register with the Korea Investment Agency and do the transaction that way. And you would be a total stan if, let's say, the share price on the market goes to like 160,000 won, 170,000 won, but you're still gonna just only accept 150,000 won to make sure it goes to SM Entertainment. Not really sure how many shareholders there are like that out there, but when you really think about it, if you have been an old investor in SM Entertainment, there's a higher likelihood that you may be more loyal to SM Entertainment. So this tender offer by Kakao, smart move at this point. Even if there is no success with a tender offer, they have the cash to then just, start buying up shares, which both sides should probably start just buying up shares on the open market, because this looks like it's just going to get more and more expensive as this battle goes on. And it looks like they're really both competing to try to get to 40%. And in the ultimate K-drama showdown, what happens if both sides end up with 40% by March 31st? Both of them just go pedal to the metal and guns blazing, and they all made a miracle, walked on water, turned water into wine, and then yet both of them end up with 40%. Now that's gonna be, honey, season 2 of this K-drama. All right, guys, well, what do you think? Put your comments below. Remember to like, share, and subscribe. See you again next time. Bye-bye.